Internal Johnson & Johnson documents from 1971 show company scientists identified asbestos in their talcum powder. Company memos from the same period document discussions about testing results, regulatory exposure, and strategy. No public disclosure was made. The product was not reformulated. Johnson's baby powder continued to be manufactured, marketed, and sold, advertised as safe, pure, and gentle enough for infants for decades after those internal conversations took place. Tens of thousands of women who used the product developed ovarian cancer. Many of them died. Johnson & Johnson knew in 1971. Their customers did not know until Reuters published the documents in 2018. Johnson's baby powder occupied a singular place in American homes, a white cylinder with a soft, scented promise of purity. The brand identity rested on trust and maternal care. The active ingredient was talc, a soft mineral mined from the earth, refined, and placed into those containers. Geologically, talc and asbestos can occur side by side. Commercially, that overlap created a contamination risk with enormous health implications. Asbestos is a known carcinogen linked to mesothelioma and implicated in studies associating talc exposure with ovarian cancer. The product's symbolism amplified the hazard. What was sold as gentle could be dangerous. The 1971 records revealed a company aware of that danger. Internal communications obtained through litigation show scientists reporting traces of asbestos in talc samples and executives discussing regulatory exposure. The documents do not describe a recall, a reformulation, or a public warning. Instead, they record internal deliberation and contingency planning. The company monitored evolving regulations and litigatory risk while the public remained uninformed. The dissonance between the private file and the public shelf is central to the story. Knowledge contained, risk continued. A core dispute in subsequent litigation centered on testing methodology. Johnson & Johnson consistently asserted that its products were asbestos-free, citing laboratory results. Industry influence over testing protocols and standard-setting processes shaped which methods were privileged. Independent testing by plaintiffs' experts, using alternative analytic techniques on archived samples, identified asbestos. J&J contested those findings and the methods used. This methodological contention was decisive. It shaped which data would be treated as authoritative in courtrooms and regulatory debates, determining outcomes for thousands of plaintiffs. The lawsuits that followed were not socially random. Research and testimony showed that talc-based powders were used at higher rates for intimate hygiene by Black women, a pattern influenced by historical marketing practices and product positioning. As a result, the demographic distribution of reported ovarian cancer cases among talc users revealed disparities. Those most exposed were often members of communities that the company had deliberately targeted. That intersection of marketing strategy and health outcome was documented in the litigation record, but rarely addressed in the company's public statements.
Jurors awarded substantial verdicts against Johnson & Johnson. In 2018, a Missouri jury returned a $4.69 billion award to 22 women who had developed ovarian cancer, finding that the company had known about asbestos contamination and failed to warn customers.
Many large verdicts were later reduced on appeal. Numerous cases settled confidentially. The sheer volume of claims, tens of thousands, meant the legal risks could not be resolved through isolated trials. Each discovery produced more internal documents, expanding the public record and reinforcing the historical narrative of corporate knowledge and non-disclosure. Confronted with mounting liabilities, the company pursued a controversial legal strategy. It formed a subsidiary, transferred talc liabilities to that entity, and placed it into Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a maneuver often described as the Texas two-step. The effect was to pause ongoing litigation and centralize claims within bankruptcy proceedings. Plaintiffs and legal scholars argued the strategy improperly exploited bankruptcy protections intended for insolvent enterprises. Courts scrutinized the structure. Challenges ensued. Ultimately, federal judges rejected some aspects of the maneuver, allowing many cases to proceed. In May 2020, Johnson & Johnson announced the discontinuation of talc-based baby powder in the United States and Canada, attributing the decision publicly to misinformation about the product. In 2023, the company extended that discontinuation globally. In 2024, a proposed settlement of approximately $6.5 billion with plaintiffs was announced, subject to court approval. No criminal charges were filed against company executives, The documents that surfaced in litigation, including those from 1971, became part of the permanent public record and served as a catalyst for demands to reform cosmetic regulation. The regulatory landscape changed slowly. For decades, cosmetics were subject to a framework that did not require pre-market safety approval or mandatory adverse event reporting. Advocacy around the talc controversy and other safety concerns contributed to legislative change. The Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, enacted in 2022, expanded FDA authority over cosmetic safety. That reform arrived nearly half a century after J&J's internal files documented asbestos concerns, a delay with profound human cost. Johnson & Johnson's internal files from 1971 documented concern about asbestos in their talcum powder. The product was not changed. The findings were not disclosed. Marketing continued to target populations most likely to use the product in high-exposure ways. Tens of thousands developed cancer. J&J paid billions in settlements and verdicts, removed the product, and publicly framed withdrawal as a response to perception. The documents tell a different story, a record that was internal for 47 years and now informs an ongoing reckoning. Subscribe to Case Files TV. Because when a company knows what's in the bottle and says nothing, the people paying the price deserve to know the truth.